Let's start. Wow.
Okay. A very good afternoon to all present here. We welcome all of you to our third edition of Back to School series. While learning through observation, interaction with the environment, students get an opportunity to reflect and conceptualize independently, which contributes to holistic development. Job shadowing is a method of experiential learning we have been continuing at Mahadevi Birla World Academy for the last 4 years. It helps to improve communication, prepares one to anticipate and face challenges, encourages creative and critical thinking. It boosts continuous development and improvement of the various abilities that our students need to be able to contribute positively to the society and be responsible citizens of the ever-changing world. Since last year, virtual sessions have been conducted with professionals and experts from different fields and even with the alumni who shared their experiences, thus inspiring and guiding our students to pursue their dream career. Education aims at the all-round development of an individual, which can be achieved through integration. Co-curricular activities supplement the academic curriculum and help build 21st century skills and enhance students' competencies. Our guest today is Ms. RHAKSHANDA MUJIB. May I request Mahima Singhvi of 12A to give her a befitting welcome. Over to you, Mahima.
Thank you, ma'am. A very good afternoon to everyone. For today's session of job shadowing, we have invited Ms. Rakshanda Mujib, an alumna of MBWA batch of 2017. Ms. Mujib has completed her Bachelor of Technology in Computer Science and Engineering from Amity University. She is currently pursuing her master's in the same domain from Jadavpur University. She is a quantum computing research intern at QID Lab under the University of Calcutta and also a panelist at the Faculty Development Program conducted by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology on quantum computation for researchers and industry personnel. She has been recruited as a faculty member for high school students by an academy recently. It is a pleasure to have you with us today. I would request you to kindly share a few words about yourself and take us through your journey.
Rakshanda, now the
Hello.
floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Hello, and a very, very warm good afternoon to everybody who's present here. And I think more than you all, I am excited to be a part of this. So, thank you so much for having me here. And yes, I would like to share my screen and start with my presentation. And whatever you just said about me, that is correct. I am pursuing my master's in computer science and engineering from Jadavpur University, and I have a little telltale to talk about. And I would try to make this session, not just about me, but about you and me. So it's going to be about us, and I'll share my story accordingly. So if I have the permission to share the screen, should I start now?
Absolutely. Go ahead, please.
All right. So I think all of you can see my screen. Am I audible, visible?
Yes,
Is the
yes.
screen visible?
Yes.
All right, ma'am. Okay, so yes, and today I'm going to start. I'm so honored to be a part of this back to school session. And I really wish I could have been there physically and this was done in a physical manner. But alas, we are left in this virtual world to communicate. And so I'm going to start here itself. So yes, hello again. My name is RHAKSHANDA. And as I told you, I'm going to make this session all about us and not just about me. So let us start with the question that all of us have been asked as children, right? What do you want to be when you grow up? So I don't know about you all, but I had been trained to answer that question when I was, I think, 4 or 5 years old. So I remember when I started my journey here at Madhavi Birla World Academy, which was then known as Madhavi Birla Girls Higher Secondary School. And I was interviewing for this question when I was interviewing for my admission here. I had been asked this question as well. What did I answer? So here my, a sequence of aspirations that I've had over the past couple of years, not a couple of years, maybe 2 decades almost, are my aspiration number one. I don't know if you can guess it, but it was to become an IAS officer. At least that is what my father had taught me. But what my father had forgot to mention was what is it? I was trained to answer that I want to be an IAS officer when I grow up. But what is an IAS officer? I do not know that question. I do not know that answer. So I remember when it was during one of my classes in upper infant, I had a friend of mine who was also very tiny at that time, just like me. So she asked me, but Rakshanda, what is an IAS officer? Who is an IAS officer? And, I could not take it. But okay, I do not know what it means to be an IAS officer. But mind you, I am a good storyteller. I have learned that by listening to lots of podcasts and reading a lot of books. So I made up a story. I pretended that I know what an IAS officer, what being an IAS officer means, and I said an IAS officer basically means I for ice cream, A for apple, and S for salads. So, and an officer. So I'm going to be an officer who is going to take care of or monitor all the ice cream sellers who are selling apple flavored ice cream. Now, two things over here. A, I do not even like the taste of apples. And B, Pragati loved pineapples. So that friend of mine, Pragati. So she said that, okay, so if I want to be the governor of, pineapple flavored ice creams sellers, then will I be, and I continued, yes, of course, you will be an IPS officer. So this is, I think, almost 2 decades ago. Next, talking about my aspiration number 2. So by the time I reached grade 8, I realized that, I was more fond of science than I was of social sciences. So I loved mathematics and physics, quickly transcended to being my favorite subject of all time. And I decided, okay, I want to do something with science and I do not want to pursue social studies. And yes, and by that time, we were all talking about in grade 8, right? So we were talking about career options which would make us rich. And that is the time when I came across a news in the Hindus, a very similar news to this. And it said that engineers from IIT Kharagpur got the salary package of 89 lakhs back then. So this is 2.4 crores now, but it was 89 lakhs then. And I decided, okay, now I want to be an engineer. And then the question came out was, what kind of an engineer? And the answer was given to me by this character of the show called Sadahak. I don't know if you have watched it, but it was a show about this girl who was living in a very patriarchal society. And her father wasn't supportive of her taking up engineering as a career option. But she was adamant and she struggled and became a mechanical engineer. And therefore, she added the mechanical before my engineer. So I decided that I will be a mechanical engineer and make cool cars. That did not last for very long because once I reached, I think, grade 10, I decided that I wanted to be a doctor. Why? The question was why again. So a friend of mine had gifted me this book called Till the Last Breath by Vijay Datta. And it was one fine afternoon that I was at home, and I was never very fond of watching TV. But that day, I happened to stumble upon an episode of Grey's Anatomy. And in both these books, there's one thing common, and that is the main characters, they die because of the absence of a neurologist, right? So that determined I wanted to be a neurologist and take care of the brains and nerves, and there would never be a Pihu or a Dr. Drek who would die because of the absence of a neurologist. I know. It might sound crazy, but yeah, these are the situations that I have come from. Then came in aspiration number 4. And this happened to me when I had already taken up science in 11th and 12th grade. And I decided that, well, maybe I want to do a fresh start and I want to pursue literature because of these many authors that I have read the books of ever since I was in grade 4. So yes, our school library has a wonderful collection of books. And these are some of the authors that I got to discover in those bookshelves. But the question was, one fine day, this is what my father asked me. Ari banna kya chahte ho? What do you want to be, actually? And that was a very, that question with the intensity that my parent had asked me was a little, I was taken aback. I was like, I don't know. I mean, I had a couple of options coming my way, and I just, revolted. And I said, you know what? I'm just 17 years old. How do you expect me to decide at this age what I'm going to do for the next coming 43 years of my life? Because 60, you retire at the age of 60. So my father said, that is what everybody do. Everybody does, you have to decide right now, and you have to focus on whatever you're doing. And I said, well, okay. So I took a retour and I spoke to a couple of people who suggested that, become an engineer, a computer science engineer, because that sounds like a safe option. And I did that. But life is not of roses. If you can see this graph, then this is basically my score from upper infant to grade 10. So it was always, a graph that I had never scored less than a 7, and that is how it was. So in 11th and 12th grade, I don't know if you all are facing this situation right now. What I did, my 11th and 12th grade were not very happening. I was stressed most of the time, and I found it difficult to cope with whatever was going on. So yes, added to that was my parents' expectation of me doing well in the future. And to that was the grades, which were not improving no matter how much I tried. I joined a coaching center. I joined 3 coaching centers rather. And so it was kind of difficult for me back then, because after school I would attend these coaching centers for like 4 hours. It was a long kind of situation, and then they used to take those mock tests, and I used to appear for them, and they would hang lists of they would rank us based on the grades that we had scored. And the first time I went there, and I just started scrolling through those lists to look for my name. And I could not find it on the first sheet, so I moved to the second, the third, and finally found my name on the 4th sheet. But that's the thing was that my name was on the 4th sheet, and the 4th sheet was also the last sheet. That really hit me. I was like, okay, I was not very great student, but I had some ranks in my lower grades. I was like, how did this happen? How can I be here? This is not my place. And then the time was passing, and the pressure was building. You have to prepare for your joint entrance examinations. You have to prepare for your boards. I got stressed. And I think if I look back right now, then that was a period of time that I don't think so I could have handled in a better way than what I did already. As a result of which, I got tired of studying and tired of trying. because of which my grades dropped drastically. I scored my lowest in my 11th grade and somehow managed to pull it in the 12th. And I gave up. I know, not a very inspiring story, and I would never ever encourage any one of you to give up on that. But I did, because it was just like too much for me to handle at that point in time, and I was a mess. Did I crack the entrance exams? Not. No, I did not crack the JEE mains. And I also did not crack NEET, which is your National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test, which I'm sure lots of you must be aspiring for. So, tip number one that I have learned from my past years in school and everything, that is focus on your boards. When you go to these coaching centers, they will tell you that boards ho jayega, but that is not true. You have to focus on your boards because this examination is not a joke. You have to do your revisions on time and everything. And here I have listed a couple of tips which I have tried and tested, not during my school days, but later during my engineering days. And yeah, so you have to do your revisions on time. It's not like I did not study back in 11th and 12th grade. I did, but it turns out, unlike in 10th grade, you have to be consistent with your revisions. I mean, even in 10th grade, you have to do your revisions, but 11th is a totally different thing, right? Those of you who are in 11th, you will know that. Maintain a journal of your study routine. By that, what I mean is you can maintain a diary, a little diary, where you can write along with the date what chapter you have studied of what subject, and kind of track it. So just mark another date where you would write, you would come back to that topic and revise. So you can do that and practice on pen and paper, which is very important for subjects like physics and chemistry, literally every subject, basically. And maths, of course. Also, number 4 will be to focus on qualitative studies rather than quantitative studies. I'll give you 2 statements. I sit with my books for 8 hours versus I study for 8 hours. Which one do you think is actually talking about quality? It's obvious that the second statement is talking about quality, because the first statement is just, trying to be with the books, and that is not what you want to do. If you think that you can cover whatever material that you're studying in, say, half an hour, do it. You don't have to sit with your books and your notes for 8 hours. That is not something I would encourage either. Say yes to a timer and no to alarm clocks. Another important lesson which I learned in one of my workshops that I attended. So you should time yourself and not set an alarm. Okay, so 6 o'clock I'll wake up and I'll start studying. I remember waking up at 4 o'clock during my 12th grade in the morning, and it did not make any difference to me. Again, all of this is specific information to me. It might work for you, it might not work for you. But yes, timing yourself is better than, depending on the clock, basically. Take a mock test and do it at the real time. What do I mean by this? So suppose you have your boards from 9 to 12, which I think was the case in my time, during my time. So, when you're taking mock tests, wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning and do that, so that your system will get adapted to, looking at the paper and the question paper and analyzing the questions, answering them at that time. These are some study tips that I thought I should share with you, being the senior. Well, fast forward to my engineering days, and this is my college. I did my bachelor's in computer science and engineering, and unfortunately, because I could not get into a government college, I entered here. It is a private university, by the way. Thankfully, thank God, my parents had enough money to send me here. But when I entered Amity, I realized that nobody knew me here, and I thought that if I have 4 years here to study and to do whatever I will be doing, I don't know, for the rest of my life or for the coming next 5 years, 3 years, I don't know, I will rather make it a good 4-year duration. And that is when I claimed and I promised myself I'm going to make it happen. And when I started studying computer science, by the way, I did not have computer science in my 11th and 12th grade. And I do not regret it. I studied biology. Biology was a favorite of mine. Sometimes I think maybe if I hadn't taken a biology and had taken computer science, maybe I could have progressed a little bit quicker than what the pace of my progress has been. So I started participating in many hackathons where I had to write codes because my mind was totally blown when I started learning about programming languages. So it was different, and it was something that I felt like, okay, this is something that I can do and I like doing, while maintaining my extramarital affair with literature. So I always felt like I was married to science because I loved science, but I had a secret affair with literature somewhere. So I participated in every poetry writing and poetry slam competition that I could, not for winning, but just because I love to, read and write poems. But what about my aspiration now? Even when I chose rather to be a computer science engineer, I had too many options. And I won't say I was confused. I was still exploring my paths. And the first workshop that I attended defined my aspiration number 4, which was to become an ethical hacker. That did not last for very long. I think it was in second year of my education that I decided that I felt like ethical hacking lacked a little bit of creativity that I was looking for. And yes, which reminds me of tip number 2, you should always attend workshops when you are in college, because it is going to give you an overview of what your stream is. No matter what you choose, there are still going to be minor roadways, which might help you in deciding what pathways that you want to take, which subjects you want to major in, and everything. If you haven't decided, of course, that is. Excuse me. So in my second year, I gave rise to my aspiration number 5, which was to become a data scientist, right? So I was introduced to the subject of machine learning in second year as well. So my professor there, he entrusted me and he said that, okay, well, I think you can do a project on this. And he assigned me to a project. So while the third years were working on the same project, I was in second year working on, we were working on the same project, basically. So I was like, okay, I love data. Everything can be encoded into data. A flower can be encoded into data. Everything, literally everything that is there on the face of Earth can be encoded into numbers, and you can work with those numbers, analyze them using statistics, using machine learning, build models to make predictions. It was very fascinating, and once again, my mind was blown. So I was like, okay, up to I want to be a data scientist. And with that, I would call this my aspiration number 5 prime. That was to crack GATE. Now, GATE is the graduate aptitude test in engineering, which is just like you appear for JEE Mains. For your bachelor's in engineering, you appear for GATE for your master's in engineering. And that was one parallel kind of an aspiration that I was having. Now, one fine day what happened, I got a phone call from one of my professors, and he invited me to participate in a hackathon on quantum machine learning. He said, if you know machine learning, you can help us with, while designing the algorithm. So I said, why not? And it was during the lockdown. I was only preparing for GATE at that time. And my internship had just gotten over. I interned as a data scientist at my WBUT. And then I said, okay, why not? This seems like a new thing, but I did not know about anything about quantum computing. So he said, well, you know about machine learning, so you can help us with the algorithms related to that. So I said, fine, let's do it. It was one of the biggest challenges that I took in 2019 and 2019 or 2020. Sorry, it was 2020, not 2019. So it was during the lockdown. And that gave rise to my aspiration number 6, which was to become a quantum computing researcher. And I managed to get an internship at the QRT lab under University of Calcutta that you just mentioned. And that is how my journey in quantum computing started. This is another big thing that happened with me, and that is I was invited to be one of the panelists at the faculty development program on quantum computation. It was a venture of many institutions, including IBM and MNIT, and of course, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India. This was really a life-changing experience for me because I never thought I would, be here. And I had to basically, um, I was basically showing the implementation of one of the quantum algorithms. And I also helped in preparing the content material that was given to the participants. Next big thing that happened, I got a job. It was almost like a dream job because not a lot of people managed to get a job as freshers, in the data science community. But I got a job, and I really felt like, okay, finally I've done something good in my life. 28 days later, something happened, and that is I quit my job. Why did I quit my job is the question. You remember I told you life is not a bed of roses? Guess what? It isn't a bed of thorns either. So, did I crack the entrance exam again, which I was preparing for, that is GATE? And the answer is yes. This time I managed. So, my All India rank, I do not want to go into numbers, but however, it was like a 4-digit rank, pretty decent compared to what I had done 4 years ago for my JEE and NEET. It was 6 or 7 digits, I don't even remember. But did I get into an IIT? And the answer is no, I did not. My rank wasn't that great. But I got into Jadavpur University, and this is where I am doing my master's in technology, computer science, and engineering. I'm very happy with whatever I'm doing right now. Before I leave, I have a couple of tips to give you all. My tip number 3 would be, always keep calm and do not lose hope. I know the times can be tough. I am one of those students who had, the duration from my upper infant till grade 10 was amazing. But in 11th and 12th grade, I think I was one of those students who couldn't handle the pressure. And it turns out that I was not alone. It is only once we were out of school that I started communicating with a lot of students. I mean, they also said that they felt the same way. They were also pressurized. And yes, so the pressure is actually real. But you should never, never, never lose hope and never lose your mind. Do not lose yourself in the process. There is a lot of things that is going to happen with you in your life once you're out of school. But again, saying all of this does not mean you should not aim for achieving the best that you can get. And tip number 4, ask for help if you need it and be kind to others. These might seem like very generic tips that I'm giving you, but they worked for me. So when I was struggling in my 11th and 12th grade, I asked for help. And by God's grace, I was blessed with wonderful, wonderful teachers and friends. So I used to sit with my teachers after school maybe, and I would write them emails and I would discuss my problem. I would tell them that, this is where I'm not feeling well. And they would help me. Nobody is there to judge you. And especially, girls, when you are there with each other, please do not judge each other for whatever grades you're scoring or whatever you're doing. Just be there for each other because this is a tough time and you should always be together unitedly to help each other. And tip number 5, that is very, very important. It is to accept yourself and never, ever, ever belittle yourself. It's super important. I'm sure you must be having a lot of doubts about which college is going to accept you. Where are you going to fit in? Will you be able to fit in? Is the stream that you're going to offer, will that be perfect for you? There's a lot of time for all of that. But first, you need to always promise yourself that even if nobody is there for you, you are going to be there for yourself. And you will always, always be, just be there for yourself and give yourself a tight hug if God forbid, there is nobody to do that for you. Now, before I get to my tip number 6, I would like to narrate a little story of this chained elephant. I don't know if you've heard it, but it's one of my most favorite stories that I would like to share. So what happens is when an elephant is a baby, okay? So when we have a calf, an elephant calf, what the people who tame them or train them rather, they tie them, they shackle them with chains, okay? The baby elephant is very small, so it cannot unleash itself from those shackles. That is there. But do you think an elephant, when it grows up, there is any chain that can control it? The answer is no. But what happens is because it has, so there is no way that it can do it again, right? I hope I'm being able to communicate, and you are being able to understand. So yes, never stop trying, and do not be this elephant. Okay, it's not a very pleasant thing to do. To not try. That brings me to my tip number 6, which is have faith in yourself. And that chain actually acts like a mental block. So it just forces you to think that you cannot. Whereas you never know. You can, if you try, you might overcome your fears and overcome everything that has been trapping you and keeping you chained. So have faith in yourself, and I think that is it. Things will get better if you are feeling pressurized in any case. And thank you so much. And you do surely take care. That is all from my end. And I'll stop sharing my screen now.
Thank you, Rakshanda. You have truly spoken from your heart, and I hope that your tips will be helpful to the students now and in the years to come.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now, I think there are some students waiting patiently with their questions. So may I now call upon Rihanna Roy of 11B.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So, hi, my question is, in which industries is quantum computing being used or will be used in the future?
Right. Hello, Rihanna, and thank you for your question. To answer it, quantum computing is a very new field. And all the scientists that have worked towards it, they're all alive. So that was a big shock for me. Just kidding. So quantum computing can be used in industries like this, greatly being used in medical sciences, in chemistry. In chemistry, you can use quantum computing to simulate molecules. So if I want to simulate how NaCl will react under certain situation, I can do that using quantum computation. Then finances, risk analysis, big companies. In fact, it's only yesterday that I read this news that LG has also teamed up with IBM for their support in quantum computing. And so IBM is basically working with quantum computers. We do not have a quantum computer yet in India. And my favorite one is security. So there are passwords that you use, right? And classically, if the passwords that are there, it will take millions of years to figure out that password if you use factorization. So we have Shor's algorithm in quantum computation, which has actually broken down that. And we have something which is known as the RSA security code. So that is there. So yes, and quantum machine learning, which is basically my domain of research. If I have to talk about like the specifications of where I'm working, we have quantum deep learning, neural networks. So yes, many, many industries. I hope I have answered your question. Pleasure.
Okay. The next question is from Shah of class 11F.
Good afternoon.
Good
I would
afternoon.
like to ask you, how was your experience as a panelist in the faculty development program?
It was very overwhelming, I will be honest. And because I had just graduated from college, and the faculty development program, as I mentioned, happened during the lockdown. Okay, the lockdown is still there. And the participants, they were much older to me. So they were faculty members from different colleges, and there were industry researchers who were all there. And I was feeling like, okay, I'm too young to teach them anything. But then, yes, my professors luckily were very helpful, and yes, it was an amazing experience. In short,
Thank you.
Okay, I think Rekha
Pleasure.
Swami of 11B is waiting with her question.
sure.
With the advancement in quantum computing, what do you think are the major possible fields where it can help in future in the daily lives of the people?
I'm sorry, I could not get your question clearly. Like, is there any way that you can type it in the chat box?
Yeah,
Sure. So your question is, what are the possible fields where quantum computing can help in future and in daily lives of the people? Okay. So the possible fields where quantum computing can help in the future, as I mentioned, security, machine learning, finances, chemistry, and of course the medical industry. Uh, as far as daily lives of the people is concerned, no, I don't think so. Quantum computation will be helpful for us, like people who are not interested in the researchers and people who are not interested in solving those complicated problems. So I'll give you an example for suppose there is a mouse that you want to get rid of. So I am strictly against violence against animals. Okay, so it's just an example. So you wouldn't be obviously taking an atom bomb and throwing it at the mouse, right? You will rather use a mouse trap. So that similarly, quantum computation is not something that is meant to solve this classical problems that you and I can encounter in our daily lives. So yes, in daily lives, quantum computation cannot be helpful. Have I answered your question?
thank you.
Pleasure.
Okay, the next question is from Sarah Jane Topno of 12B.
Good afternoon. Can you give us
Good
some
afternoon.
can you give us some insights on the recent developments made in the quantum computing area?
The recent development, okay, so it was on the news that I read. Okay, so there is a 237-year-old puzzle which was unsolved, and that has been solved using quantum computation. And as I told you, Shaw's algorithm is a huge development in quantum computation that is basically used for prime factorization. So, there are we have problems, okay, and there are complexity of those problems. By complexity, what I mean is the solutions that are there, how difficult those solutions are to implement. Now, classically, this complexity that we can use for solving a certain problem, quantum has solved it in a better complexity. As by that, I mean it has solved it in an easier way, or the time taken to solve that problem has reduced by polynomial time. Okay, and there is in Grover's search application. So there are something which are known as search algorithms. So search algorithms are basically you're given a list of many items and you are looking for a particular item. So classically, we might need to look at all the elements that are present, but quantum can assure that in square root of the time that was taken classically. So yes, there are many developments that have happened. Have I answered your question?
Yes, thank you.
Pleasure.
Okay, now from 11A, we have Bhavya Kapoor. She's also waiting with her question. Bhavya?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. Ma'am, my question to you is, what do you think is the most important quality one must possess in order to become a computer science engineer?
Quality. Okay. Um, See, honestly, I don't think so. There is any a certain quality that you need to possess to become an engineer or a computer science engineer. It's just that you have to feel the subject, and you have to love the subjects that you're studying, and that is, I think, going to do all the work for you. I don't think so. That is like very specific to just computer science engineering. That is a generalized statement that I'm making. So whatever you're pursuing, if you love those subjects, you will obviously be able to do it. But one thing, yes, excuse me, that is your eyes get compromised a lot because you're always everything that I'm working on is on computer. So no matter what I do is if it's studying, then it's on the computer. If it's programming, then it's on the computer. If I'm doing research work, that is also on the computer. So yes, that is one thing I would like to make a point on. So yes, that's that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Pleasure.
Next, Melita Shaha of 12A. She has raised her hand.
Yeah, so good evening, ma'am. So my question is, what is that interesting thing about quantum computing that made you choose it as your topic of research?
Okay, that is a question which asks problem to solve, right? And for example, you're given 10 questions to solve in mathematics. Now you will go to solve the first question, then the second question, or maybe whatever. You will solve one question at a time. But what if I told you that you can solve all those questions at the same time, simultaneously? This is known as parallelism, okay? And that is what quantum computing assures us. Now, inherent property of quantum computing is achieving parallelism in computation. So yes, and that is the reason why I told you about the speed up that we have in solving the problem. So that is how you get the quantum speed up. And if that is okay.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Okay. Aditi Singh of 11B. Do you have a question? All right. Now we move on to Melita Shaha. Melita, I think you are willing to ask another question. You have another question for RHAKSHANDA. Yes.
Yes, so in the movie Matrix, we see that, I hope you have seen the movie Matrix. If you haven't, so the movie is about AI ruling humans. So how far are we from that future where AI becomes smarter than human intelligence?
Okay. First of all, there are two schools of thoughts here, okay? And I would suggest you go ahead and watch this interview between Jack Ma, who's the owner of this company called Alibaba, and of course Elon Musk. You've heard of Elon Musk, right? The owner of Tesla, of course. So, and I am biased towards what Elon Musk, the school of thought that Elon Musk follows, and that is AI has already overpowered human beings. It might sound a little egoistic, but then that is a fact. So you definitely build the algorithms, but the speed with which you calculate that you cannot overpower a machine, right? So just like a calculator. So artificial intelligence is also there, and that can do recognition better than a human. And there are many things that it is better at than human. So I think AI has already, outsmarted us human beings.
Thanks.
Pleasure.
Rihanna, do you want to ask RHAKSHANDA another question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So what is the difference between quantum computing and conventional computing?
I could not hear your question, Rihanna.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Please tell me.
So what is the difference between quantum computing and conventional computing?
Okay. So If you know about classical computers, then the basic unit of a the basic computation unit, okay? So I think you already know that the computers only understand binary languages, right? So they work on something which are known as bits. And a bit, you can imagine a bit to be like a coin. So it can either be 1 or it can be 2, okay, at one single time. So you can either have the 1 facing up, or rather the heads facing up and the tails facing down, or the tails facing up and the heads facing down. In quantum computation, we have an analog for a bit, and that is known as the quantum bit or the qubit. What that is it's basically like if you spin a coin around, so it can be 1 and 2 really quickly, right? So that is how it works. It's super quick, and you can have many states that can be achieved at the same time. So this is like at the very fundamental level how quantum computation differs from classical computation. And because it's quantum, so you have principles like, I think you must be studying about them. You've heard of superposition, right? So quantum computers can send its state to superpositions of multiple states. So that is how it works.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The last question is from Sarah Jane Topno of 12B. Sarah?
Yes, ma'am. So what would be some of your tips on managing a work-life cycle?
Work life cycle, okay. I would suggest that do not give up on your hobbies. I am sure that there are many things that you can do. You have a lot of pressure. You have to study for your subjects. You have to appear for exams. But do not give up on your hobbies. If it's reading, read a book. It might be possible that I'm an avid reader, by the way. But I remember during my 3rd year, I think I went without reading a single book for 7 months. And that was my longest. So that is there. And try to maybe take out a day, or not a day, maybe 2 hours a week. Just do something that makes you feel good. And that is a little away from whatever your professional requirements are. So that is one thing. And yes, basically you have to manage to take out some time to do the things that you really like. So yeah.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Rakshanda.
Thank you, ma'am.
We are immensely thankful to you for this session and for providing our students with a more acute awareness of career decision-making and self-efficacy. I would like to call upon Bhavya to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. William Arthur Ward had very rightly said, feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. As we reach the end of our webinar this evening, we would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to Ms. Rakshanda Mujib, our guest for today's Back to School webinar. Thank you, ma'am, for taking out time for your alma mater and helping your juniors. Your insightful words truly inspire and enlighten us. It was such an honor to have you with us today. I would also like to take the opportunity to thank our principal ma'am, Ms. Saha, our vice principal ma'am, Ms. Ghosh, coordinators, and our teachers for their constant support and encouragement, without which the program could not have been a success. I thank the school's technical team for being the backbone to the virtual learning and ensuring smooth functioning of the event. Last but not the least, I would like to thank our audience for showing their interest in the program so proactively and playing a part in its success. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. It was an honor to be here again. Thank you.